Welcome to Marion Matters. So glad that you're joining us today. We're going to be talking about all things pertaining to the city of Marion, and I have with me Mayor Ronald Morrell Jr. He is the mayor of Marion, Indiana, and wow, have you been busy? We have so many exciting things on the local front and on the state front that we need to talk about. We had a wonderful July 3rd event happen at Monterey Park to celebrate America's 250th. It had a beautiful car show, outstanding fireworks display. You've got another big reopening of something we'll talk about here in a minute that involves some water. So we'll talk about that. We've got fire station number 1. We have the schools are starting to look for registration, that we need to get folks aware of that. And then we have the Indiana GOP that just happened, and you are a delegate, my friend. So there was a lot of stuff that happened at that recent Indiana GOP. So we got to talk about all that today. All right. Well, so let's kick off with something I think that is really important to all of our little ones. The Splash Factory. It's open.
Yes, it's finally open. That is such a interesting story. So it was done, completed last year, and then the final phase of the design called for some colors to be put on the concrete. And they came and added the color on the concrete, and it looked really beautiful. However, when they painted over top of it, it made it slick. They didn't put the right appropriate grit on there. So we went through the process and we added more of the like the sand mixture type of thing. Well, I'm saying we, the contractor, they added it on there and it made it too rough. So then it went from too slick to too rough, and then we just sanded it all off back to kind of bare concrete now. And it's back to perfect texture so people don't slip and fall and they're not cutting their feet on the concrete. So it's running and open, and I think we'll just let it run as is for the remainder of this year and then try to go back to the drawing board to add those colors, the design wow factor of it, the art portion of it, should I say, for next year. So yes, it's finally open. Kids are enjoying it. We're having a good time. It's still nice outside and they're enjoying the heat. So they got a whole month. Really, I think we're not going to probably shut it down until October. So they got about two or so, 2.5 months to really enjoy all the great things out there. So,
my goodness. Well, you know, we've had the heat wave, right? So I'm sure that there was a lot of celebrating when the water came back on, and that is a wonderful thing. And you know, the Marion Splash House, I imagine it's got to be really busy right now.
Yes, really busy. I mean, they do a great job. That team out there is amazing. We one of the first things that we did when I came into office is trying to do an assessment of all the stuff that we own in our parks and start going through and improving those things. And the Splash House is one of them. That's believe it or not, I think it was 20 years ago when that was put in. So we had to do a lot of maintenance, repair the pool, redo some concrete, put in a new slide, or take an old slide out, put that new one in. And so it's a refreshing there as well, and that team does really well. So I think that one of the most important things to me since the very beginning was providing things for the next generation to do and be a part of. So being able to refresh one of our old establishments and bring something new for the kids has been, a joy for me.
And much appreciated by many people, I'm very sure. So speaking of refreshing and new, can we talk about fire station number 1? There's some progress there, right? So
I actually just went on my official first tour today, and I'll tell you, it's one of the nicest buildings I think I've ever been in. The team that, when I first brought this idea, there was a design team with myself, Council President Brian Cowgill, our fire chief, and the Curtis Garr, and the president of the fire union. We all sat down and pick the colors out, the designs out, and all these different things, and to see it actually come to life is just immaculate. It's really a dream. When I talked to President Cowgill, he said he started dreaming about this almost 20 years ago, trying to get that fire station redone, and the firemen raised money however many years ago it's been now, maybe 15 years ago, and now to have it finally completed is just an amazing thing. So I'm hoping it's set to officially open the 1st of August. And then everyone in the public will be invited to the ribbon cutting and the official launch. So it's amazing, and I'm just so excited to be at the helm, and our council for believing in it and voting in that and realizing the importance of public safety. And I'll tell you why this is important, because some people see that and just think, the mayor just wanted to build a fire station now. But with all the investment going on in downtown Marion, we want to make sure that there's a close enough fire station to be able to take care of all these new millions or tens of millions of dollars being invested. And the closest one prior to Fire Station 1 being rebuilt and open was over by Allen School, which is has a bridge you have to cross to get in there. So that's that. Second of all of the older buildings in Marion are located downtown. If you know anything about older buildings, they flame up quicker than anything else. And then lastly, right before I came in office, we had an unfortunate situation where a young girl died of smoke inhalation from downtown Marion, and that would have been normally Fire Station 1's response, but that 30 seconds to a minute makes a huge difference on being able to respond to someone's life-saving measure. So being able to reduce our times down to service all of downtown Marion, being close enough to service the buildings that are most flammable, and also protecting all the assets that people are investing in is paramount for us.
So important. There's a lot of merit to what you were just sharing on a lot of levels. And I even remember having discussion with some of the fire department leadership about response times. Prior to Fire Station number 1 being closed down, I remember that there was a response rate of about 6 minutes, which the national average, I think they were aiming for 10 minutes, which meant that Marion was in a good place, and that there was concern that it might increase response times to up to eight minutes or so. That was maybe 10 years ago that I had that conversation. And so to your very valid point, by having Fire Station number 1 downtown, with all of the development that's going into the downtown area, it's a need. It's not a luxury, it's an actual need.
So I mean, you think if your house or your building is on fire, 2 minutes means a lot.
True.
You know, so we're doing everything we can to make sure our citizens are safe as possible.
True, so true. Well, we need to let me segue in from the fire department. Let's talk about fireworks for just a second, can we? So we were able to talk about July 3rd to let folks know that there was going to be a really big event at Monterey Park to celebrate America's 250. And can I just say, you really outdid yourself.
Oh, well, that day is so special for us. First of all, it is America's 250, and our team, our parks team, our street department, our fire, our police, our transportation, they worked for 13 hours that day, from 10 a.m. to about 11.
And it was hot.
And it was hot. You know, so everything that you've seen, none of that would be possible without those amazing men and women that worked all day in this insane heat, you know. So I want to give all the credit to them. And, you know, so I had the vision probably 5 months or so ago that, hey, it would be really cool to have a car show. Let's make it the same day as the fireworks. And they were kind of like, oh, okay, it'll be for a long day. But you know, they came around the vision, and everybody worked together, and it turned out to be such an amazing time. You know, I mean, really 10 hours or so of just fun for the community, from bounce houses to food to fireworks to muscle cars to there was a bubble pit for kids, which I guess is a new thing, like it's a machine that sprays bubbles and kids just kind of play in.
Oh, how fun.
So it's really cool. So I'm excited about that. Thankful for everyone who worked so hard. Thankful for all the citizens who came out. We had people coming from Michigan, from South Carolina, from Los Angeles. People came from literally across the United States to be a part of this. So I'm just forever grateful for that, and super thankful that they got to experience one of, I think, is our greatest gyms in the city of Marion, which is Monterey Park.
Truly is. And wow, I'm excited to see what you do next year. I know this was a special year with America's 250, but I have a feeling next year is going to be pretty special too. Yeah. So let me switch over and let's talk a little bit on the economic development front. So we've got a big event coming up at Marion Stamping, which is the General Motors plant here in Marion. It's coming up on the 31st of July, and I believe it runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's an open house. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
So I'm very thankful for GM. They've been a staple in the city of Marion for decades now, and they're having an open house where everyone can come. And they are just taking people through the stamping plant to show what they do. And the last time I went through there, they were kind of showing off their new machines. One of them was done, the other one was still being built. And you don't realize how large these machines are until you get up next to them. So I mean, you drive past GM and see how big the actual building is, but when you get in there physically and see how large the machines are, it's like almost breathtaking to see the stuff that they do. So I'm again very thankful for them, and thankful for them for doubling down and investing in Marion, Indiana. That's been one of the stories that I love telling. There's so many companies that are here that have the opportunity to go anywhere they want. They've doubled down in our city and showed us that we matter to them, and that they're going to continue to invest in Marion, Indiana, and continue to grow here.
You know, speaking of growth, there's another company, Prismian Cable,
Yes,
right?
yes, mhm.
They are in the process of seeking tax abatement
Yes.
with Marion City Council. And I understand it's going to be maybe a potentially, if approved, 10-year abatement, because
Yes.
they're looking at bringing in around $28 million
Yep.
investment in equipment.
Yes.
I know that the city council had a meeting last night, session last night, so it was open to the public
Yes.
for discussion. Can you share with us a little bit more about
Yeah.
this
So
and some
last
details?
night at the council meeting, they passed that next phase, and there's one more phase that has to happen, procedural voting on July 21st council meeting. I'm very thankful for Prism. You know, that's been a staple in Marion for a long time. It's transitioned through a few different acquisitions, but now owned by Prismian, which is one of the largest wire and cable manufacturers in the world. So having him there and investing, you know, $28 to $30 million in Marion, and also bringing, I think, is about 30 to 35 jobs. And one of the things that is very encouraging to me that the average pay of those jobs are $35 an hour.
Yeah.
You know, so when I often get a lot of requests or via whether it's calls, text, emails, social media, you know, where's some jobs we can have, how are they paying? This is an example of an investment that doubles down and triples down in Marion.
Yeah.
And are paying people above what you would consider a living wage of $35 an hour. So I want to encourage everyone to, you know, apply for those jobs. And they're not the only ones that have done that in this last 2.5 years. Obviously, they're in the forefront right now. But we talk about Hartson Kennedy, talk about
Cafe Valley.
you know,
Yeah.
Wiley Meadow as well. So we've had a lot of companies that have been staples in Marion for some time now make us their permanent home again. You know, choose us again over and over again. So I'm very excited about that.
And it opens up so many employment opportunities
Yes.
for folks. Speaking of employment and opportunity, let me pause here and insert a little public service announcement, if you will, right? I know that you have a heart for education and education of all sorts, right?
Yep.
And right now, Grant Regional Career Center. We had someone reach out to us from their leadership right before the recording of today's program, and they were sharing about the need to get the word out. The registration for students, there's a deadline. It's going to be July 17th, and I understand that they have a lot of opportunity open for people to register.
Yes.
And so, folks, if you are interested in learning more about Grant Regional Career Center, you can go online. It's grcc.works, or you can also go to Marion Community Schools website as well to find out more about the classes that are being offered there. Mayor, I think that they've got everything from aviation to they've got your nursing. I mean,
Advanced manufacturing.
Yes.
They do a great, so Grant Regional Career Center, anyone in Grant County can really go. And that is truly a staple for us, being able to put people right to work, students specifically. So you can go through high school and learn advanced manufacturing and go right into work. So you don't have to have a gap, you know. And I'm very thankful for their leader, Nate McNeely, that's doing a great job running that wing of our Marion Community Schools. So we as a city partner with them and help them actually purchase some of the equipment for the advanced manufacturing education, because that's what we believe in. And when I talk to, you know, potential companies, they want to know that there's this pipeline being developed, and so that's why I think it's important for the city to invest alongside of Grant Regional Career Center. They're actually building a house. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, on Nebraska Street, in about 25th in Nebraska. The students are building a house from scratch. So that's the kind of stuff that they're doing. It's amazing.
Wow.
And they're going to sell the house and use that money and build another house. So they do. That's the level of stuff they're doing.
That's advanced.
Yes.
And I understand that there's a strong focus on helping students to become real world ready.
Yes.
That is kind of the theme of everything that they do. And that's a perfect example right there. The trades that are required to be able to build a house, that runs the gamut, right?
Yes.
And now we also are addressing a housing need, right?
Correct, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
It's an amazing thing. So I'm really thankful for them, and I would encourage anyone to apply.
Truly.
Yeah.
So Grant Regional Career Center, if you have an interest, again, it's grcc.works. So you can find out more information there, or go to the Marion Community Schools website. Now that's open to anybody in the county. It's not just Marion Community Schools students that can register and participate. That's why it's Grant Regional Career Center, because it's open to everybody in the county. So Wow. Okay, we need to pause for a really quick break because we've got some deep conversation to get into about the recent Indiana GOP,
Yes.
and you are a delegate.
Yes.
So you got to experience that for the first time. You got to cast a vote, and I'm excited to learn all about it.
Yes, okay.
All right, so folks, we are going to pause for a really quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about all of the exciting things that happened at the recent Indiana GOP. But in the meantime, we hope that you will support our sponsor.
Today's programming has been underwritten by KB Technologies and Basic Systems USA, offering a combined experience of over 65 years, proudly serving customers locally and globally for a variety of technology and automation needs. Info online at callkb.tech and basicsusa.com.
Welcome back to Marion Matters. So glad that you're joining us. We would ask that you would take a moment to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're watching us on WSOT TV all throughout North Central Indiana, then we would ask that you please do take a moment to find us on YouTube, WSOT TV. Just do a quick search on YouTube, and if you would, do a quick like and subscribe. We have a 24/7 stream that we do, and we also have our programs like Marion Matters that we produce here in-house that you can watch independently of the 24/7 stream. So thanks so much for your support on that. All right, Mayor, so you are a delegate for the state, and we just had the Indiana GOP event, and there were a lot of exciting things that took place. First, can we talk about Secretary of State? Diego Morales was the incumbent, but unexpectedly, I think, or maybe expectedly, I don't know how to frame that. We had a challenger, Max Engling, and he was affiliated with Senator Jim Banks, right? But he came in kind of as a grassroots effort, if you will, challenged and ended up with the nominee.
Yeah, he won, yes.
As the nominee, rather, for the Secretary of State.
Yes.
Can you give us a little insight as to what that looked like? Was there a lot of lobbying, and was there some aggressive, what was that like?
So first of all, I'll say I'm very honored that I was voted in to be a delegate. Appreciate everyone for voting and trusting me to do that. So the convention is every 2 years. It's an action-packed thing, right? So you have like parties the night before on Friday, as in like all the candidates host people and they'll say why they should vote for them, etc. Then on the Saturday, this cycle, they voted on some party platform ideas, like so what the party believes in or doesn't believe in, etc. And then this election specifically was a four-way race for the Secretary of State. So the state treasurer and the state comptroller weren't challenged. They just they won by no comp. And the Secretary of State was a four-way race, and the rules are they have to win by 51%. So you have to have however many rounds over and over again until somebody has 51% or above. So the first round, one person was eliminated. Second round, the last person another person was eliminated, and then the final round was. I'm sorry, I think it's only 2 rounds. I think that after the second round, there was still a 3-way race, and Max England came on top out of that. So Max is a young man, similar in age to me. I believe we're about the same age, or maybe he's a year older than me. Lives in Hamilton County. He's a great guy. He was the field rep for this area, Central Indiana, for Senator Jim Banks. So he was always being Marion. He was, if you look at some of our photos, he was in the ribbon cuttings for the Parkview hospital establishment. So he was around. I've known him for a while. And so, he's a great guy. I think he's going to do a great job. And I'm looking forward to getting behind him and supporting him in the November upcoming election. And that office is important, right? Because not only does it do elections, which everyone kind of knows, but it also does all small businesses. If you ever pay attention, if you start a business, it's signed and controlled by the Secretary of State. Car dealerships is a big thing that they do as well. So they have a lot of functions that they do. They can accept or deny people's small businesses. And one of the things that they talked about was there's a lot of fraudulently set up companies, and you might have seen the news specifically in trucking right now. They set up these fraudulent companies, and then they'll set a whole bunch of LLCs up at the same time. And then it's an accident will happen with one, they'll jump to the other and keep doing that. So the Secretary of State actually has the ability to go in and analyze all the companies and see which one is real and what's not. And not just him himself, but his team, and then go start eliminating those things and try to clean up some of the business side. So it's a big job, and I think Max is up for it. And obviously Senator Banks is a big supporter of his. He's been a big supporter of mine, so I appreciate him as well.
So this was your first time experiencing the GOP as a delegate.
Second, I got to do it for the governor. So after I won my election in 2023, my first year in office, 2024, was the first convention, and I got to go. That was the election where they had the lieutenant governor and the attorney general.
Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Yeah.
So that's my second time. This one was a little bit more. Well, both of them actually were kind of tense. This one seemed a little bit more tense than the last one, but this one, both the same way. And it's very interesting because people can like yell from the floor what they like or don't like. So it's an experience in and of itself. So if anybody is ever interested in politics like that, I would say run for delegate, give it a try. Or if not, there's a way you can be a guest, and you can't like sit, where the delegates sit. You sit in the back, and you can still see and experience kind of the rowdiness, if you will, of all of it.
Oh, wow. I have so many questions I want to ask you. So, okay, let me ask the responsible question here.
Mm-hmm.
What was the basis of when you cast your vote?
Yes.
What were the key items that you based your vote on?
Yes, so for the Secretary of State vote, I really wanted to do it for someone that could win in November, because from this November race is actually going to be hotly contested because the Democratic nominee is Bo Bai, which is the son of Evan Bai and the grandson of Birch Bai. So he is a highly
He's got some name recognition, doesn't he?
His name recognition is legacy, right?
Yeah.
When you think about a legacy name, this is like, my father and my grandfather were highly elected, not like mayors and city councilmen. We're talking like governors and senators. So he has a long list of high name recognition. So we had to get somebody out of the GOP that could compete with Bo Bai coming in. So I think Max, it puts us in a good position with that. He's young. He has the backing necessary, the finances. I mean, another thing that people don't realize in all political races, but more specifically in these larger races, we're talking, $6 to $10 million worth of campaign expenditures, because you have to traverse the whole entire state. So you have to have somebody that has the horsepower to raise that much money. And then also, be able to get out there with at least amount of damage as possible to be able to, for our side, to be able to assure that the seat remains in the GOP side.
So you were referencing some of the excitement from the floor, and then I think anytime that you have kind of an aggressive floor, I don't know what I want to call it, campaign. But anytime that happens, I think there's a potential risk for some division to happen within the party.
100%. Yes.
Trying to frame this, kindly, because I'm not sure. Do you see evidence of the GOP platform trying to find ways to unify after this intense?
Yes, I would say that yes is a short answer. In the moment, you don't really feel that, because so for example, everybody's for their candidate, whoever they're for at that convention, and there's a round of voting, and they go on stage and announce how many votes and what order they're in. And as soon as you finish, the people are coming up to you, are you gonna vote for this person, vote for me, like in real time. So it's
some lobbying is really happening on the floor, right in your face.
In your face, and everybody has their team walking around and talking to you. Make sure this is why. I mean, and it's a constant strategy going on the whole entire time. So that's the voting side, that side of it. But then there's also the side of like the platform that's presented. There's some people that just like disagree with what the platform is. So there was a moment where like maybe 40 or 50 people just kind of walked up front and were just yelling over top of the speakers because they didn't want what was being passed to be a part of the platform. Now, I can't recall what the exact thing was that they were protesting against, but that's the ability that they have at this kind of convention. So it can be definitely testy. We made it through it, and now I believe the party's united and moving forward to November to make sure we secure the victory.
That was exactly my next question, was how then do you see November being impacted? So, wow, okay, so I'm trying to keep an eye on time. I know we still got a good bit of time left. And I definitely want to talk to you about the GOP's decision to put into their platform of things idea to do away with property taxes entirely. There's so many questions that I have with that. And, I understand, though, that the idea is if we do away with property taxes entirely, that revenue that we need would be replaced by taxing services with the 7% sales tax, which we don't presently do.
Yeah.
So like if you go get a haircut, you're going to expect to have a sales tax attached to your bill.
Right. So let me. It's a very complex issue that people try to oversimplify. So I want to try to be as sensitive as I can to it. So when you're thinking about property taxes, everything that a city does is all funded by property tax currently in this current model, right? So police, fire, services, all the services that you enjoy are funded by property tax. So now the argument is that with property taxes is that you're permanently paying rent to the government on your home. So so let's say you have someone that is, elderly that's paid their home off for 20 years now, and they still have to make up these biannual payments for property taxes. So there's a faction that disbelieves that we should not be renting property from the government in perpetuity, which that's hard to argue against, right? So now the side that makes it a challenge is if we're going to do that, okay, let's move forward and eliminate property taxes. What's the new mechanism to fund the existence of government, right?
Right.
So a few of the proposals that I've heard result in, so right now everyone in Indiana pays a 7% sales tax. In Marion specifically, now we have the 8% because on going out to eat, food and beverage. So I've heard ideas where they increase the overall sales tax up to 12 to 15% on everything. I've heard the idea that they increase the income tax to replace the property tax. So there's a few different ideas being floated around, but it's kind of, you can take something out of one pocket and it's still going to go into the other.
Yeah.
Because unless you just come to the conclusion that you don't believe government should exist, you're going to have to. We're going to have to pay for it in some form or fashion, right? So it's either you're going to pay for it in the way of property taxes, or we're going to decide to pay for it in the way of a higher usage tax, sales tax, and or local income taxes. So that's the format. So now there's all kind of formulas that are people that are way smarter than me, lawyers and accountants and CPAs, et cetera, that are running these formulas for the state. But in the grand scheme of things, that's the only options you have. It's going to be property tax, or it's going to be a form of some other kind of tax.
So in my attempt to wrap my head around what this could mean, because I know when we had the adjustment to property tax caps here, it affected the municipalities negatively.
Correct.
School systems negatively.
Right.
I believe we had a county school, was it Oak Hill, that just had to ask for a 33 cents, extra 33 cents per, and so that they could just keep the doors open. Right. So the change, it was so drastic.
Yes.
The impact was in some places catastrophic.
100%. Yeah.
And so the shifting, how are we going to protect our existing organizations, municipalities, entities with that shift?
It's very challenging.
If we do away with property tax.
I guess we can go back in history, right? So when Mitch Daniels was governor, they introduced the property tax caps, right? So your residential, you can only be at 1%, like commercial, like multifamily 2%, and industrial big things like GM 3%. So when he did that, now there's people that are saying, well, the assessor, the county assessor, doesn't fall in that. So like, say your house is $100,000 taxed at 1%, the county assessor can next year come back and say it's worth $175, even though it's still taxed at 1%, but your property taxes then ultimately go up. So that happened, I think, maybe in 2007. So now you look into the future, which is still the past now, but in the future to 2024, when this was the Senate bill, Senate and Road Act 1 for 2025 was introduced, they did a property tax reduction, and it ultimately saved, I think, on average, every Hoosier about $300.
Wow.
However, how it would have done to the city of Marion. So the city of Marion's total budget is $34 million. We run everything with that: police, fire, transportation, street, everything you imagine in government, $34 million. Because of that reduction, we now have lost $9 million of the 34. So when you think of being a conservative, right? There's things you can cut. You can be fiscally responsible, but there's no way to fiscally be responsible yourself out of a $9 million out of a 10% cut. There's no way to to fix that without firing an extraordinary amount of people.
I remember when this first happened, and you and I
Yeah.
discussed the potential that, okay, if we increase tax on income, could we recoup the loss?
Right.
But clearly,
Yeah.
no.
So so the property tax reduces there. So if we increase the local income tax on everyone, which the state allowed for at 1.2%, we would still be down $3 million. So that you can figure that out, right?
Yeah.
But you still have to increase the tax on someone. So so ultimately, no one actually saved any money.
No.
So the last figures I heard say the average person saved $300 on their property tax. If we max out our local income tax, you're now going to pay $330 on your local income tax. So you're paying more money and the city still lost. So it's a very complex formula, a complex idea. So that's that. So like schools, that's why they're trying to pass these referendums. Schools don't have the ability to do local income taxes.
No.
Schools are strictly funded only by property tax.
Yeah.
So there's no other option they can do but do a referendum. So now I think that, from what I've heard through the grapevine and in the kind of the back doors is there were some communities around the state that are flush with cash. Schools that are flush with cash that are building hundreds of millions of dollars of natatoriums with swimming pools. So, but that's not us, nor is it the majority of the state.
Yeah.
So what happened is there was this kind of focus in on some of these larger areas that have a lot of extra money, and this kind of one swoop idea that's one size fits all that actually hurts communities like us more than what it would some of these other places. So, yes, that's why I say it's so complex. The state is, where state is one organism, but there's so many smaller communities and larger ones that have different needs for different specific things. And how they pass the bill currently is we could pass that local income tax in the city of Marion, but you could live in the county right on the other side of the street and pay a whole different tax than what you have. So then it almost disincentivizes people to live in the city.
Yes.
So it's kind of a mumbo jumbo mess. But all that to say, they've kicked down the effects of that until 2029. So I think they've kind of realized it wasn't the best thing. But because of that, we're still living in what I like to call governmental limbo. So that we're having to be reactionary.
Yeah.
So I can't. Last year I didn't give any of our employees raises because I thought that this hammer was coming down from the state. Well, now they kick it down 2 more years. How do I continue to operate and run the city and use sports terminology? How do I keep the locker room?
Yeah.
With suspending wages continually until I figure out what the state is going to do. So we still have to, from a city standpoint, we still have to operate. We still have to take care of our people. We still have to pave the roads. We still have to do all those things. I can't just wait around and be reactionary to see what the state is going to do or if they're not going to do.
Right. So, in my effort to try to understand this and the research that I was trying to do, and I'm so glad that you are so knowledgeable. So thank you for being able to answer these questions. I know that there are some challenging questions, to say the least. Some of the statistics that I was running across in comparison, I'm going to forgive me if I get this a little off, but it was something to the effect of for every $1,000 of assessed property value that people would pay property taxes on, in order to get the equivalent amount of funds into the municipality, if we were to shift over to a 7% tax on services like the haircuts that I mentioned, that it would need to be $14,000 in spending on taxable services.
Yeah,
that's huge, right?
So the money is being. I always try to reiterate this. This money is still you're still going to pay this money. It's just, do you want to pay it in your income tax, or your service-based tax, or do you want to pay it in property tax? So and then it depends on what side of the argument you fall on. There's a faction, and I feel like they have valid points. There's a faction that say that we don't want to pay the government perpetual rent on our property. There's also a faction that say that it's actually harming the people making less money. The poor people, if you will, if you have a higher service tax or a higher income tax, right? So it's this kind of nuance that it's a very nuanced situation that people aren't willing to be nuanced about.
And if you're making less money, there's a potential chance that you are renting, right? So you're not really paying property taxes. So now, even if you were avoiding the expense of a property tax, the tax is still going to come at you through sales.
So I think from a philosophical standpoint, we just have to sit down and understand what we want government to do, what we want government to be. You know, public safety, most people agree. You know, paving roads, parks. You know, but see, even parks, you start losing some people with that. Some people don't think that it's a valid expenditure to invest in quality of life. You know, and other people, when you look at the cities that are successful, not just in Indiana but across the nation, they have a high quality of life investment. So we have to really figure out what do we want the role of government to be, and then trim down to that, and then have to figure out what this social contract is to pay. I feel like that we've lost the mutually agreed upon social contract that we're paying to be appreciative and use these services. Now it's kind of more like begrudgingly that this is going on. So I mean, obviously no one is enthusiastic about paying taxes, but you know, if somebody told me that, hey, you know, we had to pay an extra $1 a week to make sure your child's school is in immaculate condition, most people aren't going to fight that.
Exactly.
You know? Or we had to pay extra 50 cents a week to make sure that all of our parks had, you know, new slides and new swing. So like, that's more common. But then what happens is, and I get it, these taxes stack on top of each other, and it makes it hard to live because you're paying, I mean, a lot of taxes. And then so we just have to sit down and go to the drawing board and figure out what we want government to be, and then what we're willing to pay for.
And how that's going to impact your small businesses.
Yes.
Which, you know, Main Street is the backbone of America,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And so we have the large corporations and the bigger entities, but really the backbone of America truly is those smaller.
100%.
And so we don't want to forget them.
Right.
Right.
Yep. They're the ones showing up. They're the ones sponsoring events. I mean, even in Marion, those small businesses hold us together.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I got to move on to the next topic. But I could talk to you all afternoon about this. And let me shift to another item that was discussed at the GOP, and that is the idea of a closed primary.
Yeah.
And for folks who don't know what a closed primary is, I was just going to give the definition, but maybe you should share that.
Sure. I think in the simplest form, this would eliminate the idea of crossover voting. So like right now in Indiana, in each primary you can vote for whatever, now you have to vote one or the other. So like let's say
you have Republican or Democrat, but we have a lot of independent voters.
Yeah,
so about 44% of Indiana registered voters
so let's just
are independent.
say you claim yourself to be independent and you voted in this last election all Democrat.
Yeah.
But next year you want to vote all Republican. That's something that you can do and switch back and forth. With this closed primary idea, you have to actually register for what you're going to be. There's obviously mixed bags of opinions on this. I think that it makes it tough for me because I believe I want to get as many people to vote as possible. And I think that this could be a hindrance to that, but I also see the benefit of it is that we want to make sure that, because there'll be billboards you'll see as you travel around the state and says all Democrats vote in this Republican election to sway what's going on the Republican side. So I think that if we're going to continue with this model of we have to vote in a primary for a specific party, then closed primaries make the most sense. Now if we switch to the other method, which is like ranked choice voting, where you can just vote for anybody regardless of party, then that kind of it seems like the best way to go. But if we're staying with the format that we are in now, closed primaries make sense to me.
So if you are not a Republican, for example, then you cannot vote in the primary.
Unless you've registered yourself as a Republican.
Unless you've registered yourself. But if you've registered yourself as an independent, then you're missing out
on the primary vote.
Which means you would be missing out on potentially 45% of the registered Indiana voting population. That's a lot, right? And that means a much smaller, because that remaining percentage is divided between Republican and Democrat, and those, however that plays out.
And I get it from a strategic standpoint, like from a party level, they're saying that we want people to vote, but we want our people to vote for our people. Meaning that
makes a lot of sense.
Meaning that we don't want independents and or Democrats meddling in the primary portion of it. Now in the general, you're free to do whatever you desire.
Right.
So I get both sides of this. Isolating or disenfranchising 44% of Indiana voters is a big decision. Now people push back and say, well, not disenfranchising, I'm just making you choose which party you're going to vote for.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, another one of those nuanced things that people...
Kind of trying to force that two-party system.
So I think that that we're going to have to make a decision on what we want this to look like. Are we going to stay with this format that we use where you have to select a vote for one party or another in the primary? And if we're going to do that, then okay, that's fine. Let's make people choose that. But if we agree that that's not the best system, then we need to go to like this ranked choice idea where you can vote for anybody in the primary and then anybody in the general. So every state has different rules on this, So I think that I really do like Max, and I trust Max that he'll do a great job in leading that effort and communicating the message out clear on what the best thing to do moving forward with that. Now, again, he can't make that decision. This is a legislation thing, the state legislator, but he can be the lead charge of it. Yeah.
So if we look at numbers statistically, to what we were just saying, about 13 to 15% of all registered voters of all parties actually turn up presently for primaries.
Yeah, very low. I think it's maybe lower than that in Grant County.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think it's I heard something like 7%
yeah, it's even lower
or
than that in Grant County.
something.
So people are already, they really don't like voting for whatever the reason is, whether it's lack of education, which I think that's probably one of the main reasons behind it, lack of education, lack of time, whatever you want to add into it. But I think that for me, I think the driver is lack of education. When I'm talking to people I'm 33, people my age and younger in this kind of age group, the lack of education on what your vote means to your quality of life living in the area is missing, so that civic education early on is something that, and it's not even necessarily early on, civic education as an adult from like 18 to 40 is vital, that we need to do better in to get people out to vote and understand the importance of each one of those votes. You put somebody in office that can, drastically change or improve your life, make it worse, whatever it is, especially in the local government. Now I understand some of the disinterest in more maybe national or congressional races because you don't feel that as much. But when you're dealing with like city council, county council, commissioners and mayors and prosecutors and sheriff, that group of people affects your life immediately and directly.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the heart of what we do here with Marion Matters. That's the mindset behind everything, the information, the education, and we so appreciate you taking the time to come and give us that information and help us to understand. And we're running out of time here, so let's shift to one more big event real quick before we wrap up. Your citywide cleanup.
Yes.
We got another one coming up.
Yes.
They're going great this year. A lot of progress being made.
That's my favorite thing that we do. So July 11th, we are in District, I believe, 4. District 4 now. Yeah. So District 4. District 4. Which is West Marion, is by the high school. So if you live in that district specifically, you could put your trash on the road and our team will come pick it up. But anybody around the city is free to bring their trash down to the street department headquarters to drop off.
Excellent. Well, folks, we are all out of time. I want to say a great big thank you for joining us today. Hope that you found all of the information interesting. And if you would, please share the information around with your friends. It's real easy to do. If you're watching us on YouTube, just hit the share button and send it over to somebody that you think would benefit from knowing all the information that we brought to you today. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thanks so much to our supporters for helping to make this happen. That's KB Technologies and Basic Systems USA. Stay tuned for some more quality family programming that you can trust right here on WSOT TV.
Today's programming has been underwritten by KB Technologies and Basic Systems USA, offering a combined experience of over 65 years, proudly serving customers locally and globally for a variety of technology and automation needs. Info online at callkb.tech and basicsusa.com.